Free Tibet without compromising China's territorial integrity. The European Parliament passed a somewhat contradictory resolution with an overwhelming majority.
We have always supported a peaceful reconciliation through dialogue between the Chinese authorities and the representatives of the Dalai Lama.
50 years after the Tibetan uprising against China, Tibet's spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, also recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, says the people of Tibet continue to live in fear. He accused China of bringing hell to his homeland. His comments were dismissed by the Chinese government as lies.
The European Union has to meet with the Dalai Lama to find the truth. Is it what China says, that Tibetans are violent, terrorists and separatists, or what the Dalai Lama calls for, an autonomy?
While politicians were not quite sure what should be done, protesters were determined to continue their hunger strike in front of the Chinese embassy. Many of the people inside this tent have not eaten absolutely anything for the last 3 days. There is no medical supervision, but they say they will keep on going until the Chinese government stops the oppression and torture of their people. Sonam, a political exile, says he feels okay for now, but is willing to go all the way, even to die for the freedom of his country and that of political prisoners.
There's no free media in Tibet and the Chinese are doing whatever they want. It is important to let the world know so we can put an end to this.
Earlier in the week, protesters took to the streets to mark the 50th anniversary of the Tibetan uprising. Some, however, have backed China.
China has done an enormous amount for Tibet in terms of providing infrastructure like the new Qinghai-Lhasa railway and higher levels of social provision than elsewhere in rural China.
But reports indicate a worsening situation in Tibet.
Tibet is close to foreign journalists and foreigners. There is a huge deployment of troops campaigns ongoing against Tibetan culture and identity.
Vincent says there are about 900 Tibetans in Brussels, the biggest community in the European Union. Some are former political prisoners and exiles. Others, second-generation Tibetans, like Lamo, a Belgian citizen whose parents fled Tibet in 1959.
I lost several uncles. One of my uncles, he spent nearly 20 years in prison. And unfortunately, I'm not the only one. All Tibetans have this kind of story.
A story that has motivated Lamo to become an activist for the cause of her homeland.
We have one thing, the Tibetan spirit.
And she remains hopeful that China and Tibet will make peace. Anna Moya, Press TV, Brussels.